It's time to turn to our final talk of the day, and it's with great pleasure that we welcome Alexis Knox to the stage. She's styled the biggest stars, DJ'd for some of the biggest brands, and recently become the creative director of Notion magazine. We're delighted that she's taken the time to be with us today, so please welcome Alexis Knox, who'll be interviewed by Zealous founder Guy Armitage.
Thank you so much for coming today.
A pleasure.
I mean, I have a
here.
long piece of paper with all your achievements, and I think that my memory can't take it.
Gosh.
But basically, you've styled Miley Cyrus. You've been in Wembley Stadium. You've presented. You've been a DJ. You're the creative director of Notion Mag. You're the editor of Notion Mag. You were the stylist for Notion Mag. There's so much there.
It's been busy.
It has.
You know, well, the thing is, I grew up in Oxford, and like nothing happens there. And then when you get a chance to like leave home and you get to London, you want to do everything, and you don't understand why you can't do everything if you think you can give it a go. So I think that's why we've ended up with like quite a long list, because it all does go hand in hand, I think.
So how did it start? I mean, you said that you started in Oxford.
Yes,
Oxford
born and raised.
So no extreme styling in Oxford, I don't think.
I always had, let's say, sort of a jazzy sense of style, which when you're trotting around Oxford town is quite eyebrow-rising. But no, I think I've always just really been interested in everything creative, from performing arts, singing, dancing, to making art, just entertaining and creating pictures. And I just learned through clothes and dressing myself that was yet another kind of platform for creativity. So I studied fine art. I got a degree in illustration, graduated, and was like, well, I love drawing, I can draw, but to be an illustrator, and I was selling work and people loved it and I was exhibiting, but to be an illustrator you have to sit alone and concentrating on one thing and being very alone making pictures, which is great, but it's, for someone like me, I obviously like people and doing stuff, it wasn't enough. So I moved to London and was like, right, I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's going to be cool, I'm going to love it, and it's going to involve people, entertaining, and pictures, and we'll just see what happens.
And how did you make that jump? I mean, one of the themes for this day is how people have got their skills and how people have accessed certain education. But obviously, if you come from a background where you're doing illustration and fine art, how do you go from that to styling Pharrell?
Yeah, well, I think what it is like I said, it's all about picture making. So when I moved to London, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to put myself out there. So I was just basically saying yes to anything and making sure I was in the right places at the right time. So, you know, I very much threw myself into nightlife because so I moved to London, I was like, right, I need to do work experience. But we all know work experience doesn't pay. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do work experience in, but I'm just going to say yes to whatever I can get. So I was doing everything from TV production running, to trying to write for online publications, to actually my first ever work experience, which was with Notion, which I was like bottom of the ladder, didn't even get to meet anyone in editorial. I was literally sorting out the publisher's car parking tickets, which if anyone's got any problems with that, just hit me up. But yeah, so it was a fact of just getting out there and saying yes to people. So obviously that doesn't pay, so I was like, right, how can I make some cash? So I started working in nightclubs, and I was what you call a door horse. I was like the person with the clipboard who told you if you could come in or not. And because I'd had an eccentric way of dressing, they were like, oh, we want you on our door, you look good. And luckily, I ended up doing it at a nightclub called Circus. And Circus was kind of like a very gay, fashion-y night in the centre of Soho in a club which is now The Box. And then it was Raymond Review Bar, and we had everyone from Amy Winehouse DJing to Alexander McQueen. So it was all those kind of people's haunts. So when you're the person on the door who decides if you come in or not, it's a very quick, fun, clever way to learn how to meet the right people and make sure they know who you are. So during the day, you're like everyone's bitch, but you're learning and you're saying yes and doing what you can. And by night, you're like glamour push, getting to know everyone and just soaking it in. So really, I just moved to London and was like, look, any which way, by day or by night, being on the dole, by trying to earn 50 quid cash here or there doing doors, I'm going to kind of make it happen and just learn. And one of these things will pick up into what will be a job that will pay and then a career. And I think because of my natural sense of style, people presumed I was a stylist, so I went along with it. and got assisting jobs, and that was the main thing that stuck. And then all the other things kind of latched onto that.
So almost fake it until you make it, right?
Yeah, in a way, but always be sincere. Like, don't lie, never lie. Keep it real, you know. So when I would meet someone, they're like, "Oh my God, are you a stylist?" And I'd be like, "Well, no, actually, but I'm looking to fashion assist. Do you know anyone? Are you a stylist?" Da da da. Keep it real. Like, be who you are, but acknowledge who you are. Like, I was new, I was fresh, I didn't have the skills, and it's because there's nothing worse than a bad blag, really. But just be that to the best. So I was a very confident, enthusiastic newbie, let's say.
So confidence goes a long way towards
Yeah.
actually unlocking opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I guess with confidence you can fake it, you know, as long as you can deliver the goods.
I think that's key. You mentioned that obviously there was a need for you to work for free to access these opportunities. This is it's a big topic at the moment, people being unpaid for apprenticeships and not gaining access to certain skills. Do you have any views on that, or is there...
You know, like because obviously I studied fine art and illustration, I had zero experience to even get into experience which was a little bit more legit. So a lot of my initial work experience were people who were actually trying to fake it to make it as well. So other young stylists, other young photographers, like, you know, at the time Notion was a young publication. So we were all kind of in it together, and it's very hard when you know that the person you're working for really isn't getting paid much for the job they're doing to demand that you get paid as well, when they're actually teaching you something you didn't know. And I think, for me, the opinion is if you're doing something and you're learning, and you've learnt it, you've repeated it, you've mastered it, you're not getting paid, then move on, keep growing. It's your responsibility to take, you know, care of yourself and what you're learning, and to measure your own timeline. I always knew a 6 months, 3 year, 5 year plan. It was always something I understood. So I think it's okay. Like, you will find no matter where in your career, you're going to do stuff for free, but it's like, okay, you give to get, and if you're not really getting, then stop giving, and then move on, you know. I think it's common sense, to be honest. And make sure you're protected and safe.
And obviously now we went from you parking a car to you being creative director.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm kind of assuming there was steps to that.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I was coming and going away, so I'd come and do like a month and go away for a few months and come back, and every time I came back I ensured that I'd guaranteed that I was moving up the editorial ladder. But in that first month that I was there, I very much sussed out who did what, and also sussed out a lot about the magazine, which I felt as a fresh pair of eyes was kind of common sense. You know, you're a music magazine, musicians wear clothes, clothes is fashion, fashion is advertising, advertising is money, everybody wants money, so why are you not? So I asked a simple question, why are you not integrating this? And it was just literally because they hadn't really got round to it or didn't have the contacts or the resources. So when I was like, well, can you give me a go, maybe give me a chance or whatever, or let me try and find people who are more qualified than me to bring in, that's how it sort of took off. And I was saying today, we've got the good news today on iTunes. We are #1 in fashion publication downloads and music publication. So we beat Enemy and we beat Vogue on iTunes downloads,
awesome.
which is like mad, considering, like, you know, yeah, just having your first work experience, cleaning the kitchen and being like, oh, do you want to put some fashion in it, get some money? And then you're beating, you know, Vogue on the downloads.
So you had a real impact by just making that decision.
I think I just didn't go away as well. I think you have to be really persistent. Like, don't just send one email, but also don't get yourself like a lawsuit. Be cool, be nice, but be persistent.
You also said that you had to ask.
Yeah.
Right? So it wasn't you waiting for the expectation of going up the ranks and being nice and polite, which I feel is something that we're very good at in the UK.
Yeah.
It's actually saying, well, I demand the rights.
Yeah.
I've kind of earned my stripes, and I'm now worth it.
Yeah, I think it's like anything. You have to acknowledge who and what you are. Like, at positions, yeah, I was a graduate or only a year from being a graduate. But at the same time, it was a fact of the things that I'd achieved and had given, and then could only give if I was put in this new position. You know, after being there, sort of doing work experience and doing bits of styling and getting things published, after about a year and a half, I was like, well, you actually need a fashion editor. Like, you need someone who can actually officially go out with an email and actually make stuff happen. So, like, why not make it the one person that you trust and who actually has the best intention at heart? So it was always like making sure, again, like working for free for work experience. Okay, well, I've done this for 3 months. What can I do next?
And at what point exactly did personal brand come into it? Because you mentioned that you had a good sense of style, and it was quirky and it's different in Oxford, and you came to London, and that became kind of a signature trademark. And how did that kind of play into what you've now become? Did personal brand come first and then the career go behind, or did career come and then personal brand built up based on that?
Yeah, I think I was lucky that I was very much raised in a family where I think I was supposed to be born a boy who was going to take over the family business, and then I was born this quite eccentric wee thing who just wanted to sing and dance and make people laugh, and they were like, okay, well, she's not going to take over a plumbing thing or whatever. But I always had my ear out for whatever my granddad or my dad wanted to kind of, preach. So I very much entered this very much 50% business-minded, 50% an artist. So I think when you have that kind of approach, it's easier to kind of get shit done, because you have to be an artist to come up with ideas that no one else has. Like, artists are the true inventors most of the time. But it's no good having an invention or an idea if you can't learn how to channel it and make it actually happen. And I think that's how things progress. And having said that, part of doing anything is letting people know you're doing it. Like, there's no point doing some great photo shoots if they're just going to go unseen. So social media, before I could afford or had the time or knowledge to create my own website, was an easy platform for free to just share what I was doing, to hopefully get more work. But funnily enough, my dissertation for my illustration degree was branding. So I was doing sort of fashion promotion illustration as well. So it's always subconsciously, I think, been on my mind. And understanding the effect that a personal image could have, say, getting the jobs in nightclubs and stuff, just purely on my crazy get-up, was like, okay, this is a thing. And when I moved to London, there wasn't power bloggers and blogging and Instagram it girls. Instagram didn't exist. It was very much MySpace. And so this whole take a selfie, it's all about me thing, I was a bit uncomfortable with it, and I still am actually. Not if you did a Google, you'd be like, shut up. No, but I actually am, and it's something I had to really enforce. And it was actually my 19-year-old intern who was like, no, Alexis, you need to put pictures of you on your blog, because that's what people want to see. So a lot of it comes from natural sort of the inevitability. You do something, you want to share it. Then you understand the power of sharing it and the consequence. And then when you're doing something next, you're like, okay, well, if I'm now going to share this, then I need to present it in this angle, making sure if you're on set, everything looks glamorous rather than often the harsh reality. So then you end up in a situation where you have a 50% where it's kind of the aspiration and the glossy final image of behind the scenes, but what you're trying to present, and then 50% what you're actually doing. It's kind of like life imitating art and vice versa.
And you have an article about the perfect selfie, or styling the perfect selfie.
Yeah, because of that kind of, I don't have a huge social following, but it's a very targeted one. So I do a lot of projects with different brands, and HTC came to me this time last year and said, we have launched a phone, and it's the first ever phone with a selfie function. So we want you to be the world's first ever selfie stylist, because we see you can take a selfie. And so that was a campaign for them, which was international, about how to take a selfie, which sounds so when you've been around, long enough to have gone to the cinema before mobile phones existed, and then go to a call box and find out from your mum who's picking up the landline, no, they're not going to meet you, so you get on the bus and go home, to then being the world's first selfie stylist. It seems outrageous and quite ridiculous, but at the same time, it totally makes sense, and it is an integral, intelligent part of what we all do. And it's kind of down to us how seriously we take it. It matters, it's clever, but it's just a selfie. It's that keeping it real, but keeping it fabulous at the same time, and then selling that. That has always been the key.
And it's being on trend, right? It's understanding what's happening within society and how people are reacting to social media.
Yeah.
I imagine it must be very difficult for you to always be a step ahead, especially in fashion. I mean, it moves so quickly. How do you do it?
You know what? This is a hard one without sounding completely wanky. When you live in Shoreditch and you hang out and all your friends are doing whatever, and your circle are the influencers and tastemakers, say, when you do something, you're like, yeah, this is cool, and then you get bored of it 6 months, a year later, and then then it's cottoning on and it's spreading, and 3 years later, it becomes a thing, and you're like, oh my God, this is so passé, whatever. But then suddenly it's that 3 years later when actually that is now only making money. And it was for me learning to be like, it was just learning that formula and to keep reminding myself that even though you're bored of it, that's kind of when the world is like, is getting on. And it's not being like, oh, I'm like a genius or whatever. It is just really common sense of how art to design to trend to product to sales, it's that.
And
is that timeline changing? Is it getting faster and faster? Or is it
it's definitely getting a lot faster because of Instagram, I would say. It started with Tumblr trends and influencing, and quickly through to music and arts and the main media. But actually, yeah, you're right. It's massively got shorter because it used to be a kind of a sort of a 18-month to 3 year to 5 year dead thing, and now you're literally going 6 months, a year, 18 months dead.
I heard, I think it was two days ago, they talked about Peach. And they talked about the fact that it peaked in 26 hours. So it was a new social media network. Everyone talked about Peach for 26 hours, and then it disappeared into the void.
Yeah.
And you just think, how do you really pick a social media network?
But that's the problem, is that it didn't disappear and die. It probably actually is continuing to grow at a brilliant rate, better than it probably would have done prior. But because it peaked, because it got press, people are like, well, the peak's died down, so it's dead now. And it's like, that's not really analytics. That's just sensationalistic press. And really.
Is there a parallel with fashion and tech, you think? Is there kind of same thing?
Yeah, it's like when people say, oh, it's music and fashion, like, oh my God, how come they go hand in hand? And I'm like, it's show business, it's entertainment. Anything that triggers the senses all goes hand in hand. Why look at something that sounds grim? You know, looks great, but sounds gross. Like, you just wouldn't, would you? And it goes like anything. If you've got another platform to sell, why not sell it there?
One of the topics today is all about skills. So from that kind of curve and that portfolio career that you've brought together, obviously the skills have changed. They've changed very rapidly. To know what you're doing on Instagram and to know what you're doing styling someone and illustration and the DJing and the presenting, which we haven't even touched on yet.
Yeah.
How do you pick up these skills? I mean, is it just you going home and going, well, I've got a spare hour, I'm going to pick something else up? Or do you get help from others? Or do you...
Yeah, it's a weird one of an inner battle with me, where I hate to look around at what other people are doing because I really believe in understanding the power of your own individuality. So it can really suck to look around at other stylists and go, oh my God, why didn't I get that job? How come they're doing it? And then to remember, no. Social media, what you're seeing on blogs, what you're seeing on websites is the cherry on top. It's propaganda. So don't look around and don't judge. Just look forward at what you're doing, plan. And do pat yourself on the back. But at the same time, you have to keep your senses aware to what's happening, what's going on, and to not be influenced, but to make sure that you are not however far behind or you're passé and you're staying relevant. So it's a real struggle of getting all the balances right. So just say something like, I don't know, say Instagram. So I was a bit 6 months behind with Instagram because I had Instagram for like 6 months just thinking it was like this cool thing to put filters on my pictures. So my Instagram was private. And then my friends are like, no, like it's a social media thing. It's like Facebook. And I'm like, oh, what? I thought I could just make my pictures look hot. So then I realized I've got all these pending requests. I'm like, oh my God. And then I go public. And then I'm like, oh my God, what photos are on there? Quickly delete them before anyone sees what I'm trying to put filters on. Oh.
How many pictures of the Chihuahua?
Oh, the Chihuahua. Oh, there was no Chihuahua then. But I have a dog called Prince Knox, a Chihuahua. And everyone's like, oh my God, he should have his own Instagram. And I'm like, no, I bought that dog. I feed that dog. I pick up that dog's poo. If he's stealing followers from me, I don't think so. He's on my Instagram, so I get the like. So Prince Knox, hashtag.
So that's competition, right?
Yeah. But even brands are jumping onto Prince Knox. He is like product placement central.
Do you want dog food in your feed, or is
hey, if they're paying, I'm putting dog food on my feed.
You touched upon planning. So you said you need to plan ahead. When you were coming up with your personal brand, or when you were actually kind of working something out, do you wake up at the beginning of the year and you think, well, I'm going to plan ahead and I'm going to think, where do I want to be in 2 years' time? Is that something that you do, or is it something that becomes much more organic? Are you more opportunistic?
Yeah, you have to have a rough plan or a rough idea. Otherwise, you're just floating aimlessly. But if you become so strict with it, you're going to miss out on opportunities you couldn't even predict, or inevitabilities you couldn't even imagine. Like I didn't plan for this to happen, but inevitably it's happened organically, and it's helping whatever the end plan is. So I do like to know, right, what do I want to achieve in the next 6 months? Or what do I want to get out of this year of my life? You know, by the time I get to my next birthday without wanting to be suicidal, how can I be cool with it by having what I've, achieved this year? Because often there is a sense of defining who we are through our achievements. So it does help to have a plan. And even if that plan doesn't work out, you have to go, okay, well, what's happened anyway? How is that plan bending and going? There is a lot to be said about a 5-year plan, which my dad used to push down my neck, because it's almost like if you can dream it, you can achieve it. Like, is it a dream or is it a plan? What is it? And you have to think of the big picture, but have a rough idea, but don't kill yourself if it doesn't happen or go that way, because often maybe it wasn't naturally meant to happen that way. Like, so you were saying about the presenting. I fronted up a T4 show about 3 years ago. It was like, Channel 4, like primetime fashion show thing. So I did that, got signed to one of the leading acting agencies, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be the next Gak Wan. Right. Okay, obviously I'm not the next Gak Wan, but in that time, I've ultimately then got clients like Miley, for example, and my expertise and client bases and credibility has grown more than I could have probably imagined. And you go, actually, that didn't happen, but God, I'm actually better, because when and if it ever does happen, I'm a lot more set. Hindsight is a very wonderful thing.
So it's seeing the opportunities in what you've achieved. And
yeah, because any creative industry is hard. Like, you're kind of mad if you want to go into it, because it's just like, anyone who goes into a creative or entrepreneur, they are the most faithful people ever, like literally, because you don't know necessarily what the next 6 months are going to be. You just know what you hope and what you're striving for. So you're either mad or very, very faithful.
So to be creative, do you feel like you do need to have multiple things on the fly just to be able to kind of feed off each other?
It really does help. I think, we are living in a different age, and there was this economic crisis, this crash. I don't really know how much I believe in it, or how much I know it really has affected things, or whether in times of crisis those who are creative do excel. Maybe sometimes when the top dogs are taken down, the underdogs, the artists, the creatives can shine. Those entrepreneurs can be like, okay, well, I'm really struggling, so it makes me more hungry. I see a little gap. This is where I can come in and steal it. So I think, you have to stay on your toes, and you have to go, look, okay, like with the DJing, for example, that was just being in clubs, finishing my shift on the door, hanging out with the DJs. There was an hour at the end of the night where the owner of the club night was like, look, everyone's going to be drunk. No one really cares what they're dancing to. I'll teach you effectively how to be a human jukebox. Press play. You'll pick it up. It will double your earnings. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And then next thing you know, you're now a DJ, which is now a sellable thing. And it's all how you market it. Me playing to some drunk people every Friday night for an hour, be it at the hottest club, is how you perceive it. So it's how you market it and how you sell it. I just know I was doing my mate a favour, and I was crap. But, vitamin water, just see this person who looks good, has some shit that will sound hot in a press statement. So they're like, yeah, quick, give us some money, put her in the decks for this party. And Bob's your uncle. You're a brand. So you've got to go, look. Often, we spend so much time worrying, like, oh my God, what am I going to do next? 2016, what can I achieve? Stop. What have you done in 2015 and 2014 that you can sell the shit out of in 2016? How can you refresh your website, make that press release, change your bio on your socials and go, I've got enough to sell? Because, for example, we start on this stage and we've mentioned one styling client, Miley Cyrus, and that's given me, say, the credentials to sit here. I've got a list of 30, big celebrities, but we didn't really even need to mention it. You trust in it, and that's just one thing to sell. So one thing can take you very far, but make sure it's going to take you somewhere where you can get another thing and keep selling, because that one thing will grow old. So just, I would say, don't stress it. Look what you've got and just sell that for a minute.
At what point did you go, I'm messing around in front of some drunk people playing some hot music, to I'm a DJ?
I think it was other people telling me. It was like, oh, okay, I'm getting paid by some people who should know better, so I can't be that bad. So yeah.
Remaining aware of what people want from you, or what people perceive you as opposed to what you're able to do, or...
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think for me, for the early days of DJing, it was being a tastemaker, and again with styling. Like I don't really have great fashion expertise. I couldn't make a garment, but it's down to taste and enthusiasm. And awareness of that taste. Like, I can be really enthusiastic about it, but if someone else is reading it as, like, if everyone's face is like, oh, that's really crap, then you go, okay, or maybe I do need to just, like, learn a little. So it's half a lot of trust and enthusiasm and confidence, what you do, and then half, like, okay, I need to be all ears, all eyes, because I need to keep learning. Like, never sit on your laurels. You know, McDonald's nearly went bust. Who'd have thought that, you know? Like, you were like, oh, it's McDonald's. Like, they're going to be around forever. But no.
They sneakily brought Pret to make you feel like you were still
And
healthy.
they made they're more green and stuff. But, like, if McDonald's can go bust, then any of us can go bust.
You're talking about change. How often do
Yeah.
you change the personal style? Because there must be, is there a signature look, or is there...
Yeah, because you thought I was going to turn up with, like, green hair and platforms.
I was going to try, but I was told that green hair wasn't a good look for me.
Yeah. But you know, but you're working a look. It's good. You're coordinated. It's good.
It's only because I tweeted I dressed up
I
properly
saw that.
today.
I was like, okay, I'll be looking. But no, again, it's got to. I think if you're doing anything so consciously, like, oh my God, it's been 6 months, I've got to change my image, then you're not real. Like, you know, ultimately, I've always liked things that are fun, kawaii, pop, and it will just translate to different modes for different reasons. You know, the way you look. You are a walking business card, whether you like it or not. People will look at you and judge you within 3 seconds. And we all know you should judge a book by its cover, and that's right. But if I turn up and my clothes are dirty and ripped and holes, and you probably go, well, I don't really trust her as such. And sometimes that has backfires. Like in the early days when I was just trying to get any work, I would, for jobs, dress more low-key because I didn't want someone to think I was going to turn them into a crazy kawaii club kid. You know what I mean? A stylist has to be adaptable. But then it got to a point in my career where I was working enough where I could be bold and make the decision, I'm going to brand my website, I'm going to brand myself, and I'm going to try and achieve to work with the best of that aesthetic. And that's a scary choice to make, and you've just got to stay faithful with it.
And you've collaborated with some really big brands. So it's interesting how you generated that opportunity.
Yeah.
Did they come to you, or did you approach them, or?
Yeah, do you know what? I've kind of, my kind of method of like getting work has been put it out there. If you're feeling it, come get it. Rather than kind of like knocking on people's doors, because I'm too busy creating and sharing it to be knocking on people's doors. But that's a choice. Like the knocking on people's doors, it does work. It does. Like I was saying, if you've got something, sell it. Whether you want to try and sell it through social media. And I guess atting people, like I take it for granted. I think knocking on people's doors is going around with my portfolio for days and weeks on end, going to offices. But at the same time, I was atting and tweeting people and doing it kind of my way, I guess, which I felt was more down to earth and organic.
And are there any brands that would really just not fit your brand? Do you take into consideration what their brand is and whether or not it would work with you?
Yeah, like I had a brand try and book me for a DJ gig. It was a really great brand. I love them. Pretty Green. It's Liam Gallagher's brand. And I was just like, you know what I look like, right? And you know kind of what I do. I'm kind of like gay, fashion, sparkly, razzmatazz. And you're kind of like cool, indie, da-da-da. And then they were like, oh, yeah, actually, you're right. We just wanted a DJ and someone recommended you. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do you a favor. I'm not going to do this, but I'll tell you who I think's right for you, because I can come in and dress how you want me to be and everything, but it won't be quite as good as someone who could genuinely do it. So you have to be sometimes honest. I'd rather recommend a friend who would nail it than kind of go in and try and wing it. You know.
You weren't tempted to go drunk, sort of junkie that night.
Yeah, my dirty Parker. But ultimately then that company really respected that, and then I ended up getting a gig with them, which was just like so perfect. Yeah.
There's something else that's really fascinating. It's the fact that you're very social media connected and understanding of what's happening within the tech scene, but you're publishing something that's very physical.
Old school, I guess, for this day and age.
And you do it once every 3 months, right?
Yeah, so my first work experience became fashion editor, became fashion director, left for a year or so of like, oh my God, I've kind of done this with styling. What am I going to do with my life? I've got all these things. I'm going to move to LA. And then the guy who owned it was like, look, I bought out the business partners because it was kind of going away I didn't feel was right for publishing. I was seeing what was happening, so I now fully own it. I trust you. Do you want to come back as the editor and creative director and basically me and you just run it? So I was like, okay, I'll stay in grotty England to do that because that's an amazing opportunity. And at that time, we were every other month. It was about 100 pages. It was full of like news, like music news, fashion news. And I had to just level with him. And I was like, look, the reason people are going bust is because they're not moving with the times. Print is going to be around forever because we all love to pick up and indulge and lose ourselves. It's the nature of the beast. It's being human. We have to touch. Okay, we shop online like never before, but we still shop. We still go into shops and touch and pick things up. And we enjoy it. So there's going to be that. But what we have to understand is we now have to pick up something different. So news, forget it. We get our news before we've even left the bed. You know, you go on your Facebook timeline, you go on your Daily Mails, you go on your whatever. Sorry, I'm kind of revealing my lower intellect of getting news. But, you know, you've got it before you got out of bed. You're not going to go to a shop and spend £5, £10 to get something that you heard about 3 months ago. So I was like, let's not come out every other month. Let's come out quarterly. So for every season, let's triple in size. And let's just create something that is lush and indulgent, which is an original perspective. Because you can go online and get anything you want. But you can't necessarily go online and get an opinion or something original that you believe in or going to be educated by it or inspired by. So I was like, this is what we can do. So if we can create a brand that people enjoy, indulge in, and trust, we can then use that for what is making money. So this physical product physically probably actually loses money, but as a catalogue and a showcase, it can generate and be a platform to create money. So being #1 in the iTunes downloads, online branding, websites, takeovers, sponsored events. It's literally a springboard for creativity, for other ideas.
So again, the brand is beyond the medium. You're basically,
exactly, yeah.
This is a showcase in a way.
Yeah, so I guess that magazine is like me. Like, there's only so much I can physically do in a day. So I can sit here in front of however many people, but our digital content that we generate from today will go to that times 1,000 or more, or more, or more, or more. And that's the point of everything. I might go style a fashion show in Milan. It's 500 capacity. Great. We then put it online. We show it to 500,000 people. And that's how we communicate today. But that fashion show had to happen in the first place. This talk physically had to happen. And the beauty and the essence of that will never translate digitally, but it will translate.
You've mentioned LA. You've mentioned all sorts of different places. Mm-hmm. Why are you still in London? Because we've basically...
It's the best, though. It's like, there's got to be a reason why we're the most expensive to live in, because we're, like, clearly the best. So, just being biased. London did change my life. I love LA. I love everywhere. Everywhere's brilliant for so many reasons. Apart from the weather, London gives me everything, to be honest. I wish I could drive around, and I wish it was sunny, but it's not. But we get everything. You know, I can dress as crazy as I think I can dress, and then I will get on the bus, and I'll sit next to a man in full African attire going to church. I'm like, wow, I've been outdone by him. Like, you're not going to get that in Milan. You're not. And you just don't ever know what you're going to get in London, and that's the beauty of it. We celebrate originality. We don't really raise our eyebrows at much these days, and I love that. It's real freedom of expression.
And do you think it's getting more or less creative? One of the talks that we had on the first day was with relevance to the fact that London is getting very expensive. And it means that creativity is being priced out and pushed onto this sort of outlines.
My God, it's always been expensive. We just need to, like, keep perspective. Like, God, we just love a drama. Like, oh, my God. So I moved to the Kingston Road however many years ago, and that week this is how lucky this is, and like how much I can blag being a trendsetter. That week, The Guardian announced it the coolest road in London, and I was like, "Shut up! I've just moved here. This is wicked." And
could you tell us in advance next time we can invest in some property?
But my rent was like, oh my God, 300 quid a month, like 300 quid a month. And now I've had to move to like Lower Clapton a year ago, which was supposed to be the new trendy cheap place. I've been there a year and it's gone up by another £200 a month. It's gone up 200. It's nearly gone up as much as my original rent was. You know, but that's the price of it, you know. You like it or lump it and just, it is what it is. Like, you just make it happen. You're always going to find obstacles. One thing, oh, I don't have the best pens. I can't be the best illustrator. Oh, I don't have a brand new camera. How can I be a photographer? Look, if you want it, you're going to make it happen.
So what do you think are the biggest challenges for creatives now? I mean, is there a particular challenge that you had that you kind of remember, or is there...
I think, you know, this whole social media and now, oh my God, we can showcase our art, we can communicate it, great. Yeah, but so can every other bugger. So you're like, okay, you know, you've got to be on top of your game. But even before we had it, you still had to be the best. There's always been competition. And I think we can sit here and we can moan, or we can just crack on and just try our best. And just do it. Like, you can procrastinate and be like, oh, but this is against me. No, just get on, do it, share it. And if you keep doing it and you keep doing it brilliantly, it will happen. It will. Like, it's a numbers game. If you just keep doing it and it keeps happening, eventually it's going to cotton on. It just will.
Do you use social media as a way of seeing how popular a certain outfit would be? So, for example, if you took a photo and suddenly you get 1,000 likes, you're like, okay, I've made it. This is it. This is the perfect outfit for now.
I did use it to judge what worked on social media. Like, so, for example, a full-length photo gets more likes than a crop, but then a selfie gets as many likes as a full-length. Or posting at this time is better than that time. Or you can just be like, sod it. I like this picture. I'm putting it up now. You know, you own it or it owns you. Meet somewhere in the middle. Like, just keep it real. I just think we just go on and we talk about it and we analyse it. Like, oh my God, what's here helping us? And then we just stop doing because we're panicked because, oh, I can't put any work out because my website isn't perfect. Or this, da-da-da-da-da. So you've just gone 6 months and you've put nothing out then. You've just lost 6 months of opportunities if you just maybe put one thing out and met one person, they liked it, and then you collaborate. I think plan, but keep doing. Take a risk, keep looking around, but don't. It's a real contradictory thing. You've just got to do whilst analysing what you're doing. Looking around, but not staring. It's a balance. It's like anything in life, it's a balance.
And are there a couple of no-nos? So, for example, one thing that really bothers me is some of the artists upstairs show us some amazing works, and then they take some really bad photos and then put them up. So you really have no idea of what the art looks like.
I was on a shoot yesterday, and we were just talking about this, actually, about websites. And how I'm like launching a new this new like blog platform marketing idea thing this year. And we were talking about, okay, how much money I spent on my website getting it built. And then the person was like, oh no, I built my own. Is that a benefit? Da, da, da. And then we started talking about the benefits having or the downside of having a bad website. So we know this amazing makeup artist. You go on her website and it's dire. So she'd be better off having 4 pictures that were great than 40 that are just like, So it's quality, not quantity, definitely.
And you mentioned that at the beginning you didn't have a website because you could just do it on social media for free, and it was another way.
A lot of people just make a career out of their Instagrams, you know. As long as you're communicating a quality consistently, most things are kind of open to you how you want to use it. I would say have it all and do it across all, but whatever you can do now, consistent quality, and regularly if you can.
I think we've been given the 5-minute warning, so what I'll do is I'll open to the floor if they have any questions. And I think we have a roaming mic. If they don't have any questions, then I'll sing something really embarrassing that will empty the room. So please have questions. No? Don't make me sing. They're going to make me sing.
It's just because I talk too fast and too much. They're like, oh, listen. They're like, you really ended with her? Oh, my God.
I think they're all wondering where the Chihuahua is. So he did actually kind of...
Yeah, because he's obviously a Chihuahua and like Mexican descent, he hates the winter. So he doesn't get out of bed before midday. So. But
you accessorize him, right? He has he has parkas.
Yeah, he gets as many free clothes as I do. If you check my Instagram, at Alexis Knox, Knox, you'll see we recently got given matching beanie hats. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He hated it, but yeah, he got some likes, so I liked it. Yeah.
Great. Well, it looks like I'm not going to embarrass myself singing, so I'll thank you very much, Alexis.
And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Take care.